our first speaker this morning is Brooke Robertson, and she's a project manager for the U.S. DCS modernization project for Momentive chemicals.
EMI via MES, it can make you smarter. And so why don't we talk a little bit about that? So I'm from Momentive Specialty Chemicals. We are one of the world's leading specialty chemical companies specializing in thermoset resins, and 75% of our revenues comes from our number one or number two market positions through a total solutions approach to meet our customers' needs. So we're going to talk about MES and how it can make you smarter and some of the things that we're doing with it within Momentive and how we're planning to use it in the future and what we think are some of the benefits and some of the benefits that we've actually already seen from our early installations of some of our MES systems. So what is an MES system? Manufacturing Execution System. That's what the acronym stands for. The fact that you are bringing in data from multiple data sources, data from multiple data sources. You're also automating the transfer of that data from those data sources, and then you're able to contextualize it. So as you're bringing it together, you're providing a structured format for your end users to be able to go after the different type of data that they're looking for. And finally, you're serving it up, you're visualizing it through things like dashboards and so forth. So the people that really need to make the final decision, they've got it at their fingertips through things like a dashboard. And so through all these different techniques of aggregation, contextualization, visualization, propagation, and it allows you to analyze the information from all these different systems and to make better business decisions quicker. In our case, we're looking at it from the perspective of right now, our month-end reports come out 30 days after the end of the month, or 45 potentially, and we want it faster. We want it in a couple days after month-end so that we can make better business decisions. My company likes to do a lot of forecasting, looking forward, looking backward, so they can better adjust how they drive the business and meet the needs of our customers, but also we don't want to have to lay people off either. So if we can make adjustments to our plants and how we operate them sooner than later, then hopefully when we get slowdowns in the economy, we can weather those better and even return to normal business faster. So within my company, and probably a lot of your companies also, the systems are very segregated. You've got your SAP system or ERP system. You have, your standard operating procedures. You have your control system. You've got your lab systems. Some of us use labs, some of us use MIMS. Some of us don't even have anything. That's how archaic some of our systems are. So right now, our execution environment is very segregated. It takes a lot of manual effort to get these systems to talk and get the information into one place so we can provide it into a report to make it into useful information for our leadership to be able to make decisions. So we decided, well, we don't want to continue on that way. If we're going to the effort of updating all of our control systems, let's think about how do we want to do this and what are the other activities we need to do beyond just updating our control systems. We need to do some updating of some of our infrastructure that goes beyond just the control system. It needs to include some of our IT practices, some of our business practices. And so that's where it reaches out into things like our lab systems. It reaches out into our SAP systems, to our data historians. And currently, if you look at the bottom, I think this has a pointer on it. So if you look at the bottom here, basically we're very, very segregated by site. Each site has put together its own individual report based on metrics coming out of SAP, based on the quality reports, how did we produce our yields and so forth, and some information that just comes straight out of our data historians. And it's very manual and very time consuming, and that's where you get into 30 to 45 days after month end. So we looked at it and said, you know what, if we were actually able to automate our systems, integrate our systems so that they communicated better, we would be able then to take all these things that we want to compare against each other, say like our lab data, automate them, have a report generated, and boom, it's there a couple days after month end, after you get a few people to look and make sure the numbers are right before you publish it. And then we can integrate and work more together and actually compare sites side by side where possible. And I will say, actually, this is one of the slides that we've used in our DCS upgrade program that's kind of flowing over into our MES program that our senior leadership likes, because it very much so helps them understand how we are doing things very manually and very separately at each site, and how we're moving to a more integrated network. It's very simplistic, I know, but this one's actually been around for about 5 years within our company now. So we took a look at it for ourselves, and especially within my epoxy division. We had done a pilot already, which I helped spec that out and help with the requirements for our forest products division. And in that division, they weren't solely looking at just end user requirements. Their approach was much more, let's look at all of the system providers out there and decide, based on what we know of the systems, how can we fit into those black boxes. It wasn't 100% like that, but it was very much so like that. They were very transaction oriented. Well, our approach in my division isn't quite so transaction oriented, as we have several things already automated. We're very concerned about the visualization piece. And it will take some transactions to be able to link the functions together, but we want to visualize it so we can make decisions off it faster. So our approach was, we wanted to back up and look at what is the end user most interested in? How are they going to use this? What is important to them? And so we started over separately from the pilot, and our perspective was definitely, what does the end user want? We don't care so much what the providers out there can or cannot do. Here's what we've got, and we want you to tell us how you're going to make it work for us. We're kind of taking ownership of this, and we feel that all the vendors out there have really great capabilities, and we know they're smart enough to make things happen that we want to happen, that we're not so unique in that capacity. So that was really key, I guess, in our approach to thinking that, we want to meet our end users' needs first, and we're certain that the vendors out there can actually meet what we want to do. So this, I don't expect everyone to see all this, and I believe the presentation, well, I know from my side, the presentation is available, so you can see some of this more in person, but we took it from a high-level view, function-based view, what is most important. And some of the things that we wanted to see were some of our KPIs. We wanted to see dashboards, metrics, scorecards. So these types of things kept coming up over and over. So it very clearly told us in our division, visualization for an MES system was very important. But you don't get to visualization on your own. You still have to aggregate the data. You still have to propagate the data. It just doesn't happen. You just don't put together a dashboard. Somewhere you have to link all this information together, and that's where the MES system, or I guess that part of the box, comes into play. And then we also took a perspective too of, okay, we know what the most important things are, but then we also did take perspective of our operations folks down at the more day-to-day level. And it's important to understand as well that though we identified very quickly visualization was very important to us with our MES system, we would expect that we would have a visualization layer at almost every role. Supply chain would have their own, operations management would have their own, and even below, and I consider operations management like your operations manager, and I would even go below that to say supervisors, and even production engineers, plant managers, VPs. So at all levels, we plan to have very specific dashboards for each one's role and the information that is important to them, because we realize that everyone is going to use this differently. So simplistically, for those who aren't familiar with an MES system, again, it aggregates the data, it brings it all together so that, say, if you're a reliability engineer, you're going to be able to pull information from your control system, see how your equipment's been running, and then feed it over to maintenance to say, here is what your PM schedule should look like, instead of just giving it maintenance because you've always done it the same way and you've never really had an opportunity to evaluate, is that really the right time to give your equipment maintenance? Or as you're planning turnarounds or shutdowns, you can then also give maintenance to the appropriate equipment that needs service, because you're able to track that data to see that that equipment needs repair, when typically it might say you still have 2 more years that you can run, even though the actual running data is showing you that it needs maintenance now, not later. And also, similarly, people in the ERP realm, say from supply chain, they'll be able to look over into your quality systems and see, hey, what kind of real inventory do I have? It's not just, depending on how you run your quality system, some people sideline it or quarantine it if it's not exactly perfect spec, but if it's close enough, sometimes you can sell it as a different grade. And so that's information sometimes, I'm hitting the wrong button, I apologize. Sometimes that's information that your ERP people need to know about and don't always have availability to. And by integrating your systems, you will have those portals communicating so you can have that look. So now what this is, it's more detailed version basically showing the contextualization, the structure that actually goes behind putting together an MES system. And so it's not just one simplistic box. There are several pieces that go into every part of your system. And that's where you see the maintenance, that's where you see reliability and automation system. And if you see all the different lines, it's all connecting and it's all communicating, so that at every level, no matter where your dashboard sits or who you are retrieving your dashboard, you can have access to this information. So in our systems, in some of our sites still, we are very much so labor intensive, where you have to get your information still from the ground floor, have data entry, save it, get it up to someone else to do data analysis, and get it over to your management meeting in a report format. So by by aggregating the data and propagating it, you're now combining it, you're making everything talk, and you're making automatic things happen in the background so that the data can be much more so simplified, many fewer steps to go from ground floor all the way up to that management report, and being able to have real-time discussions to make business decisions faster. So another opportunity here, this is a form of increasing your automation, but if you would, depending on the level of automation in your plants, that can feed into everything that you're doing here, because there are tools through your control systems that are like asset management tools, equipment reliability tools, and all that information feeds in to the different people within your organization, like your reliability groups, like your maintenance groups. And having all that information available allows these different groups to work together to set schedules, to set plans. What is the technician going to do on a day-to-day basis? It allows the technician to even look out and see, what do I need to be working on today? Do I maybe have to even go out there today? It's cold out. Do I want to go out there? It allows the operator to actually remotely monitor some of his equipment without even having to step out there. It makes him more productive, so when he goes out there, he knows he's working on the right things, rather still having to go and collect all the data, analyze it. He can do that actually from the warmth of his office, and specifically I'm talking up in our Argo Bedford Park facility in the Chicago area, where they've been having some pretty chilly weather, and we just went through this opportunity that they're excited to get started on. And the maintenance techs are very excited for the fact that they're not going to have to go outside and just roam around everything. They're going to know exactly where they're going to be able to go and work on what they need to work on and get back inside. So it's making them more productive and efficient. So this is an example of some of the dashboards, some of the visualization tools, bringing all your information together here. And so it's an example of something you might see more up at a plant manager level or higher potentially. Not that other people in the organization wouldn't be interested in it, but you can put up things however you like. And one of the things that my company likes, they definitely like pie charts, but they also like some of the little cockpit dials also. A lot of my management really likes the red-green. It's either in or it's out, period. It's black and white. There's no in-between. And so this would be a little bit more of an indicator here, the way this one was designed, more specifically for like operations manager, production engineers on down. But the key is you can design these either way that you want to provide the information that you need to help enable the decisions that you need to make to run your business. So some of the benefits that you can realize from an MES system is, some of the paper reduction. It definitely reduces a fat finger syndrome and having to correct data, go back and re-review it. You can set limits around some of your data entry where you do have to have data entry, and it will, in most cases, depending on the level of limits that you set up, can catch any errors right away. So you don't have to go back through that correction and verification process before you publish some of your reports. The higher level of automation requires fewer persons to actually perform the transactions. So because you're linking everything now, it doesn't take a person at every single part of the process to push a button or make something happen. So you're doing more with fewer people, actually. And even when you get down to the maintenance level, again, you're doing more with less. One of the benefits of this, even for, again, our site up in Argo, is that they were looking at maybe having to go out and hire another maintenance technician. But with the technology capable of what integrating your systems can do and the information provided to the maintenance techs, it now reduces the amount of work having to be done because they can do it faster, analyzing the data first sitting at their office and then going out and actually working on the piece of equipment that needs to be done instead of having to go out manually and take readings from every instrument that might need maintenance or PM work, but not necessarily. And so it also integrates, the integrated network allows shared information between production, reliability, maintenance, supply chain. So it'll minimize some of those phone calls about, hey, what's really in this tank today? They will know because they'll see when there's something quarantined and they'll see the actual quality of it. So they'll be able to better make decisions on it. Now, it might still enable a phone call to the lab, hey, when are you going to have this available? But they'll at least know about it instead of double ordering raw materials to make more finished goods that you don't have in inventory because you can't see that you actually have some in quarantine. So the real-time availability of information then enables informed decision-making to support the business in changing market conditions. And again, that's something that's very important to the way that my company operates, the way they like to look forwards and backwards and do some predictions so that they can weather the storms and some of the roller coasters that we get with the economy. Now, I know this is small too, and again, you can have copies of the presentation, but these are actual real benefits that we have realized from our initial pilot plant, that it's reduced operator activities in the tank farms, which in our case, that's actually an EHS benefit. It's reduced the paperwork. We went from all the log sheets and pie sheets, now that the operators are just entering it directly into the MES system so the data's there. There doesn't have to be a second person. You don't have to go out, record it, and then go enter it into the computer system. They're just straight going into the computer system as well. We're able to see the Gardner viscosity as well, so the lab data is now being made available. We're having better control of our exotherm. We're able to automate the vacuum cooling. So, and these are on very specific things for our plant. And then the between batch downtime is even more accurate at this point because we're able to better track when the transactions are happening and see what's going on, why are we having delays, and improve our performance. And this is pretty much a lot. There's some similar things here, but I thought it was still important because, we're adding increased process discipline. That's kind of one of the hidden benefits too. We're standardizing on our production steps and recipes. There's reduced variation in some of our activities. We're eliminating non-standard entries. It's improving our batch-to-batch consistency, so it's improving our uptime and our quality. So in summary, you can become smarter with an MES by having more information available when you need it, by enabling your resources to work more efficiently and become more productive, because you've now aggregated your information from all these different systems that they're talking, because you have propagated the information with automatic transfers of communication between the systems. You're contextualizing it and allowing your end users to have a structured way to access their information and all the information that you have integrated together. And then you've also put it together in a visualization tool for them as well, having dashboards at each layer so that each role within your organization can look at the information that is important to them to help them do their job better, more efficiently, and be more productive and run your company smarter, more efficiently, more productively, which I think is what we're all trying to do. Obviously, safety is number one, and by running safely, we're running productive, we're running efficiently as well. So we're able now to have real-time data to support the decisions, and we're leveraging our tools to the best of their capabilities. And that's even, you talk about maybe your MES connectors, you talk about your QM systems, but it also talks about some of the other little parts of the systems like AMS, like APM, like Meridian, things like that that are also important to the organization as well. So there's several places that you can definitely get more information, and I'm sure there's more than Emerson, OSI, Rockwell, and Invensis. Those are some that I know that we kind of dabble with in my company, but definitely you can go to any of these vendors and they have information that can steer you in the right direction, and a lot of them can actually interface with whatever types of systems you have in your plants. And that's kind of the nice thing, that the vendors that are out there are making themselves a little bit more open in terms of their architecture to be able to communicate with all the systems out there, which makes it easier to integrate your systems. So that's, yeah.